The Blind Knight. Hey Jesse, how we doing today?
I'm doing good, and I think maybe I shouldn't jinx myself, but I feel like this is the fourth show in a row where I did not interrupt the recording by talking.
I know, I think it does better whenever I don't play the intro there, because like you don't have time to think of something to interrupt me with.
Although I did start to yawn. I don't know if you caught that or not.
Oh yeah, you're always yawning though, so it's all good.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I do yawn a lot. It's weird.
I remember hearing somewhere that it's a lack of oxygen to the brain, and knowing the both of us, that does stand to reason.
Yes, it does.
In Knights of the Braille news, it has been a week now since you all have been my peasants. My fellow community
How's
members.
your Knights of the Braille boss chair feel? Is it comfy?
Not really. I'm waiting on everybody to donate money so that I can get me like a brand new setup.
Why?
So
What kind of chair did Jim have?
well, it has this thing like in the seat that feels really weird, kind of like the Mister Garrison flying ships from South Park.
Oh, so it like
Yeah,
molds to his ass then.
yeah, and it's quite bony. Quite bony. Um,
Yeah. Where
but
you have meat on your bones.
I do, I do. But let's see. This upcoming Saturday will be the final quest of the Braille with Adventure Skeletons.
I'm
Uh,
so sad.
it is really sad because we have a great group, which is why
We have good news though.
every month we will be having a Quest of the Braille showcasing different TTRPGs.
I
Uh,
love this idea.
it's going to be like some one shots, and some months it may be a continuation from the previous month. We'll have to see. I know I have one on the docket called Sexy Battle Wizards, which I think is going to be a blast.
And breaking news, I will be playing my first female character because I'm going all in with that.
And so far, I'm looking at the next one, and I think it's probably going to be uh, a game called Delta Green.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Kind of like Monster Hunters type deals.
Oh, I'm in
Uh,
for that.
so yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Um, and we have that's really about it for all the Knights of the Braille news. Although the Everyone Games event is upcoming this September, October, the last day of September and the first day of October. And I was actually on a podcast this past Friday, did the recording there, talking about Knights of Braille, TTRPGs, accessibility, and things like that. It's the first, other than the Blind Knights podcast that I've done. So that was
Right.
for,
Were you nervous? How'd it go?
well, you know me, I don't like being the center of attention. So,
But the knights were not really you, if you want to think of it that way.
oh yeah, but
Like
it's
the
still
group was.
me doing the talking,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
I'm just not crazy about, which is one reason why I didn't want to take over Knights. But Jim asked me and then bullied me into it. So, um, but I mean, it went good. The podcast you might want to check it out. Is Hindsight is 2200. That's 20 and then 200. Really good podcast. Really good guy. Chad was a great guy. So definitely something to check out. He talks to a lot of other people. He's blind journalist and um, really good guy. I've listened to a couple of his podcasts so far. Seeing the feed that Jim had created on the Twitter, it's like, oh, I didn't know this was out there. It's like I'm discovering a lot of new things as though I didn't have enough to listen to as it was.
Yeah. I have to apologize. I don't know if this is picking up on on the microphone or not, but if anybody hears a scratching, my cat is indeed using the litter box right now.
So
And it's
yeah,
very loud over here, so I don't know if it picks up or not.
sometimes.
Okay.
Um, but this
Yes, we're talking about
past
you.
this past Saturday, we were going to have the last quest of rail for this particular segment, but it brings up our first talking topic that I want to talk about, and I'm not you know pointing this person out at all.
Mhm.
It just brings up a good topic about, paying attention to your players, because I asked them, would you rather us wait till next week? And I believe they were sincerely thankful that we did, because some things were going on. But that's a topic that I'd really like to discuss here that Jim and I have talked about, before. I can't remember if we recorded it or not, but I really think people who are sitting in the GM chair need to listen to their players. Pay attention. Like, if you can tell something's going on, don't really push things, so to speak. Maybe not
Yeah, because you
necessarily ignore them, but try not to make them the full focus of stuff.
right. Yeah,
But
because like what happened on Saturday, you don't want to. If they said they'd be there and they want to be there, you don't want to like go on without them. But at the same time, you don't want it to be a chore for them. So if we had gone on, and I know you would have done this because you just said it there, just make sure that person isn't a focal point.
right, and um, life happens, and this game is supposed to be fun, whatever game you're playing.
I agree completely with that. When I first started, and no one did this to me, but when I first started, I always felt like, oh, I got to be there. I got to, do this, and no matter what I'm feeling like. But it is a game, and if you're not having fun for a week, sit it out. There's no shame in that.
Right, and I'm not necessarily pointing out, and I'm going to say the name because I keep accidentally going to say it, but
Hmm.
Sage was not feeling well, and I wanted
She
to make.
still showed up though. I mean,
Yeah, and I for one appreciate that as a GM, but
yeah,
from this past Wednesday, I tried to fight through it with a headache that I'd had for.
yeah, that's not worth. I mean, just worry about you. Like
Right.
even me, I've only ever canceled a session if enough people can't make it. But I'm even starting to think like if I'm just not feeling it that week, I'm just gonna call it off and not worry about it.
And that happens. Sometimes you just don't feel. You need to, and while this is the focal point on your players, you also need to pay
Mm,
attention to yourself, because
right.
I've run games where I just didn't feel it, and y'all have mentioned that y'all couldn't tell, but
I
yeah,
was just gonna say that, yeah, I can never you have never let it be known.
and you know me well enough now. That's not me to put it up there, but yeah, I would
I
come
think I
back
would
and
know now because I do know you so well, but
yeah,
like that might just be because you knew with me one time, what was it, a few months ago, and you're like, you're just not feeling it. Is something going on? And I was like, yeah. I ended up telling you it was, but because I thought I was good at hiding it, but you saw it right away. And I think someone else did too.
and I think that comes along the lines, and this is not just D&D. This is Mothership.
Mm,
This is,
no,
eh,
that's right. It's any
yeah,
game. Yeah.
um, paying attention to your players. We
It's
can't,
Candyland.
yeah, I love that game.
I do too.
But we can't see, so we have to pay attention to like the voices and how someone interacts,
Hmm.
and not singling Sage or Mitch out, but we've had some sessions where you can tell that Mitch didn't feel as good, or Sage just wasn't feeling it this past Saturday, or Fernando or Steven not feeling good, and not trying to exclude anybody, but it happens. And hey, if it
Well, you
happens,
pretty much almost named everybody.
yeah, but if it happens, bow out.
Yep.
Otherwise you're going to be miserable, and what's that old saying? Misery loves company.
Yeah, but then I think for the problem is for people and probably I mean, for me, I can say, I don't want to let everyone else down.
Yeah, and that's a main flaw of mine. If I was to
Yeah.
create a D&D character based on me, that would definitely be a
Hmm.
flaw, because it is. Because you have to take care of yourself too.
Yep.
But enough of that all sad and grumpy news.
But,
Um,
oh, I just want to give everyone in the group credit, the Saturday group. Like we were all, and I'm going to say we because I was part of it too, but not really me. Everyone was fine with like not playing that this week. No one was like, oh. Like we were all just all about. Well, I guess you outed it already. All about Sage not feeling well, and all about. Well, let's just wait then. Like we
Yeah.
all banded together. Like it felt like.
Yeah, we were worried about Sage, and
Yep.
you
Because
know,
Sage is such a nice damn person. I mean, I
a,
don't
a lot
know them
nicer
well,
than
but I
us
have to
two,
say
huh?
I don't know them well, but I have to say in the what is it 4 weeks we've very nice,
Yeah,
extremely nice person, very helpful person.
a lot nicer than the two of us, huh?
No,
Uh, oh, you're saying you're
no,
nicer than Sage?
you hide it well. You're
Uh,
nice,
no, I'm not. I'm a
but
mean,
like
mean, evil
not
person.
not to call them out, but I was saying yesterday, you might have even seen it in the one campaign server we're in that
Yeah,
disregard my attempts because sometimes I'm fairly new with like Avery and stuff like that, and they offered to write a mini guide. And I'm like, shit, if you want to do that, I would really appreciate it.
yeah,
Just like stuff like that, like and them helping Dez with this character.
oh yeah, and helped us all during character creation. You
Right,
know,
yeah, just and so like just at the drop of a hat too. It wasn't like we had to ask or anything,
exactly.
really,
It shows that there's
which is
still
nice to
goodness
see.
in humanity.
Yes, there is, and it's
Not
nice to
much
see.
of it, but there's still some.
Not with you, you curmudgeonly asshole.
Exactly. Exactly. Jesse,
Yes, sir.
what would you call a large open area covered in grass?
The plains,
Nope.
a yard,
Nope.
the forest.
You're
Excuse
making it
me.
a little bit harder than it needs to be, sir. A land covered in grass.
Land, grassland.
There we go. See, sometimes Jesse makes things a little too difficult, but I do
But
too.
mine were all right as well.
No, a forest is covered in trees, sir. Yeah, just
That's true. But all the other ones were right.
um, Jesse,
Think.
describe
Yes.
me a grassland. Set me a scene.
You find yourself in the tall grass. The only sound is your footsteps through it. And you smell something. It smells like a campfire. As you get closer, you hear the snorts of a troll band. And seeing as you are outnumbered, one to who knows how many, you need to hide in the grass. And the grass is tall enough, you're a hobbit, so you can hide. Because if you don't, the trolls will definitely do you in.
Excellent. All right. You ready for mine?
Yep.
You stand in the entrance to a wide open area. Waist high grass stands before you, the color of straw, so to speak, a light yellow color. There is a light blue sky above you with puffy white clouds. They are quite beautiful. It's not hot, it's not cold. You're not even sweating. There's no wind blowing at all. Yet the grass in front of you undulates in waves.
Word for you.
Do what?
Sorry, that's a big word for you.
Was it undulates?
Yeah,
I know, I
I'm
know.
proud.
But the grass undulates in waves. How do you, what's in there? You have no idea. It can be something good, it can be something bad. But this is just like grasslands. It's something you can use in any particular setting. And just from that little bit, either one of ours, you could have easily a one shot. You could have a mini campaign. What are the trolls doing there? They're
Yeah,
usually in mountains. Why are they here?
right. Why are they there?
You know,
And
um,
the funny thing is, you bring up grassland. My mom, when we'd be looking at video games for me to rent, like I guess I'm thinking it would be a map, but she would always say, "Oh, this game would be too hard for you because there's so much grass." Like to her, that would be like you'd have to travel a lot.
yeah.
But it was just funny. I think it was probably a map, and she's like, "Oh, it's showing that green grass. You don't want this one."
um, and you could easily do like say the instance, the one that I described. What is that? And it can be anything from zombies, prairie
That was my
dogs,
first question. I wanted to know. I'm like, ooh, what is it? It
um,
could be one of those. I can't think of what stool was. The
mushrooms.
mushrooms, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of that, something that Jesse probably has likely forgotten, but in the Curse of Strahd that I ran, there was a waterfall.
Oh
And
no, I didn't. Because didn't I? Didn't something happen with that?
yeah,
Like it
Matt
took
fell, and
forever.
yeah, most of
Yeah.
everybody fell into the river. But I mean, I know
You
what
said the
was.
waterfall was just like a far off, like a one time thing, and we spent, I swear, like an hour on it.
Yeah, I mean, and there's not necessarily anything behind there for like the campaign as written.
But I think
But
we thought there was.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna put something back there. I don't know if y'all would have liked it if you'd have got to it, but
What was
it,
it going to be?
I'm not telling you now in case I ever want to use that again.
Oh, okay.
No, it was gonna be, some treasure of some kind because it
Oh,
was
I
so
thought it'd be
difficult
something
to get
bad.
there. Nah, because it was so difficult to get there. They had like an inch wide ledge, and daggum if the dwarf didn't try making it all the way across. And I think he
Of
got
course
like
you
two
did.
thirds of the way and then failed. But
I think that's one of the first situations that I forget the details, but where Kelton, like, remember after everybody died, he kind of had a temper.
yes.
That's one of the first situations he like lost it about something, and I don't remember what it was.
But you can take whatever scene and make it something happy or bad. That's
With
what.
just a couple words changing.
Yeah, and the tone of your speaking and the
Yep.
ambience that you play, because I'm real big into that. But I want to tell you about an animal that you can find in the
Oh,
grasslands.
okay.
We mentioned the tigers. You did or not tigers, but lions, trolls, and uh,
Luxodon.
you could. But how about a bulette?
A what?
A bulette
What
is
is that?
it is
How do you
a
spell that, by the way?
Bul. Hold on, let me get back up there. Bulette.
It sounds French.
Uh, it could be
A little.
Buletta, I guess.
It just sounds French, though, kind of, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a unaligned large monstrosity with an AC of 17 and an
Oh,
average of 94 hit points.
that's a tough boy
Oh yeah, the
or
AC.
girl.
Uh, let's see, it's a challenge of 5. Um, plus 7 to hit on its bite.
Oh boy.
4d12 piercing damage.
Oh, that thing is
Ooh.
nasty.
Oh.
But you're getting excited, aren't you?
I am. I am. It may show up.
Remember, we're only level 2 right now.
I know. Um,
You sounded so sad when you answered me
I
there.
know. It
You're like, I know.
it can leap. Let's see. If it lands and knocks like a creature prone, the creature will take an average of 14 damage.
Oh shit.
It's a massive. Oh, it's also called a land shark. That's why I picked it. I had forgot that because it made me think of the land shark beer. Um, but it's also called a land shark. So
Okay.
that's
I was just gonna ask you if you had any idea what it looked like, but now I know.
um. Oh, they don't care about superior numbers or if they're what they're attacking has superior numbers. Um, they they uproot trees, cause landslides. They live underground. Oh, this is crazy. It can range up to like 30 miles away from its like dwelling place.
I think it kind of needs to make an appearance.
Oh, it will. It will.
And not to interrupt you, because I didn't, but
Uh-huh.
couldn't you picture Aurelio riding it?
Picture who riding it?
Aurelio.
I could, yes, yes.
That's the first thing that jumped in my head. I'm like, oh, well, really? Okay, write it.
Two different ways. Um, where,
oh, oh
but
God, that's true.
but Vickless too. But very vicious creature, and that's only a CR5. You know,
That's
um,
nasty.
oh, it is, especially if it gets a hold of you. But that's the thing; it's got to get a hold of you, and bite you. Which with how I run the Monsters Hunter Incorporated or Inc. Um, anything like a 7 or above, and it hits.
Mhm.
So I mean,
It
y'all
has a
could,
what? Was it a +7 or +5?
but plus 7 the
Because that's
bite.
nothing to mess with either.
Nah,
Jesus.
but like with the way that I do the Monsters Hunters Inc. 7 or above hits no matter what.
Yep, right.
So you only take into account the modifier there, which would give y'all a good chance to take it on. So
God, that thing is nasty.
oh yeah, and see that animal itself could be the focus of a one shot,
Oh yeah,
just
definitely.
itself. But let's get to your reading recommendation, sir.
Alrighty.
So what do you have?
Oh, I thought you were playing the intro. Um, Alrighty. So today, I feel like we've talked about him on the podcast before. Either maybe it wasn't the podcast, maybe we just talked about him, you and I. But I'm going to recommend a Brandon Sanderson book today, and it's going to be the start of the um, Mistborn series, the first series. It's called The Final Empire, and it's all about rebellion and uh, the magic system's really cool because it has to do with like metals, like iron, steel, stuff like that. Everything has a different property, and they swallow the magic through these vials, and it goes into their bloodstream. And it's like, oh, I'm going to burn iron now, for instance. But if they burn it too quickly, they will get rid of their iron reserves, so they need to refill them. And it's about a young girl, and she gets caught up in kind of this rebellion type thing. And the characters are really good. I really got hooked into these characters. It's actually a series that I finished. I think it might be the first series recommendation that I actually finished the whole series. Whole series is really good. There's a second series as well that I haven't read. It's like a few hundred years in the future from where the original Mistborn takes place, and I've heard people say it's good. I've heard other people say it's not as good as this first one, but the action scenes in this are really good. If you've tried reading Brandon Sanderson with, say, Stormlight Archives and it was just too long for you and you couldn't get into the characters or anything, give Mistborn a shot. I think it's a good starting point, or even if you didn't like the other book you tried, you might like this series because it has some political machinations, it has some action. I love the magic system. It's a great world, and I'm going to be bugging Richard to read at least the Final Empire.
Excellent. I actually had a couple, but I can save one for next week.
Or you can give two if you want.
I finally finished up the Way of the Shaman series by Vasily Mahanenko.
How many books were in that?
7,
Oh
7.
wow.
Uh, I really, really liked the narrator. The books aren't overly long. You can read it at 1.4 speed on Audible, which is how I read it because there wasn't as many pauses in there. It started off really good, really simple, and I was really, really enjoying it at the time. I love the concept, but then around book 4 or so, and while the series was still good, don't get me wrong, it kind of started making it a little too complicated. You know,
Oh.
it may have been book 5. I'm going to say 4, but it's
Mhm.
like there was twist, and then there was another twist, and there was another twist, and it seemed to get kind of all garbled up. And by the time I'm reading the seventh one, it's like I just want it to be over with because I'm not trying to keep up with what's going on now. And like I said, they're still good. Don't get me wrong with that, but unless you are extremely paying attention to it, like to me, it's like taking notes on it. It's like you're gonna get lost. Like, well, why did he do this? And that doesn't make sense. And there were a lot of
Mm.
plot lines that were left wide open. And
Are you sure the series is done?
yes, yes,
Okay.
it's done. Um, and according to some things that I read, because I looked it up, to see if there was going to be other ones.
Mm-hmm.
He's writing another series that's supposedly going to close out a lot of the plot lines of the book series. Barcelona, I think is how you say
Oh.
the name. But like I said, it's still a good series. It was one of the first two lit RPGs that I
Should I
started.
even start the thing? Because you sent it to me on Kindle.
I would, yeah.
It's still worth. Okay.
Yeah, it's still worth reading. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong there.
Okay.
But it can get kind of congested, I guess, towards the end of it.
Something I want to bring up real quick. It's not a recommendation, but it's a thought I had when you said about, it was 7 books and it got you were a little lost at points.
Mm-hmm.
I bought that book on Kindle that I'm not recommending because I only read one book out of the 9 that gives you.
Mm-hmm.
And a nice thing they do is at the beginning of the second book, they recap the first book, like where we were in the past. And I feel like more authors should do that because it takes maybe certain series I'll remember like what happened because they're a favorite. It sticks in my mind. But there's other stuff like maybe a book came out 2 or 3 years later. I forgot everything and I don't want to go back and reread the whole first book again. Like I feel like they should have a recap page in series books go for everybody.
Like a chapter. I mean, it don't
Yeah.
have to be a full chapter, but
No, this was
like a preface.
like last time in whatever the book was, and I'm like, this is amazing. Even though I didn't need it because I just read the book, but
Yeah.
even just thinking back, it's like I wish everything did that because there was this one series that the book came out like 3 years later, and I'm like, I have no idea what the hell happened.
I know exactly what you mean. And the other recommendation I'll give y'all next week.
Okay,
But it
you can
is
give it to me after we're done recording,
well,
though.
it is from the Dungeon Crawler Carl series,
Oh,
which
okay,
I
okay.
highly recommend.
Maybe I'll get the first one with my next credit.
You should. Uh, but we'll talk about that one more next week.
Yep.
The segment here is going to be the community segment, and I am asking everyone to send in a at most 5 minute like segment of your favorite TTRPG and why it is. It will play at the end of the podcast because it's easier to edit that way, and I'm all about ease. But today
Yep.
we're going to have Dez talking about the Worldwide Wrestling TTRPG, which is a good one. And thank you, Dez, for sending it in. You can either DM me on Discord, send it to knightsofthebraille at gmail.com. So, yeah, everybody just send it in so that we can, hopefully portray other different
Yeah.
RPGs that are out there.
And breaking news, I'm active on Discord now.
Yeah, he's posted like 6 times, I think.
I mean, that's something, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And here is going to be the riddle of the week. We have not figured
Oh
out
boy.
like a prize, or if there is going to be a prize, other than you're exercising your mental capacity.
I think that's enough of a prize.
I think it is too, hearing me. But there is something that I seek. While it is bound, it chooses kings and peasants. When it is free, it foretells war and woe. While it is bound, it propels men's lust and fury. When it is freed, it tumbles, falls, and fades. While it is bound, life will often thrive. When it is freed, death will often follow.
Ooh. Where did you get that? That's really cool.
I found it. We will give you the answer next week. If you need to listen to it again, just like rewind it a little bit and listen to it. So again, thanks everybody for listening. As always, this music, the intro music and all, is provided by Adrian von Ziegler. Thank you, Chris Cook, for the outro message.
The man who's not Jim.
Yeah, the man who is not Jim. And thank everybody for listening. Remember to like share, and
subscribe.
Hey everybody, it's your pal Des, longtime listener of the Knights of the Braille, first-time caller, wanting to share with you a little bit about my favorite tabletop RPG. I just got into tabletop gaming, I would say no more than 2 years ago. Before that, I really hadn't heard much about Dungeons and Dragons and games like that, other than it was the game that I saw the kids play on Stranger Things on Netflix. That all changed when I discovered a game called Worldwide Wrestling. It's my recommendation to you today. It's a very fun game that appealed to me as a longtime wrestling fan, but might appeal to you as a fan of role-playing who might not know anything about wrestling. This is a super fun game that not only lets you challenge your wrestling fandom by creating a character and just rolling around all of those wonderfully wacky wrestling tropes like chair swinging and putting people through tables and all sorts of fun stuff, but it also lets you practice the key tenets of role-playing and of tabletop gaming. There's a lot of teamwork involved, a whole lot of collaboration. At the end of the day, you're not competing, but you're working together to tell a good story and put on a great show. Good mechanics that could help you with your D&D party if you know what you're doing. That was the gateway for me. It got me into D&D, it got me into Mothership, Vampire the Masquerade, Mutants and Masterminds, all sorts of other fun games, but the gateway was this fun game called Worldwide Wrestling. It's only $15. The designer has a very strong commitment to accessibility. He knows we exist and he knows we love it and he wants to keep making sure that we can play. So I would say support this amazing developer, drop the $15, and thank me later.
This episode is brought to you by the Knights of the Braille and is made possible through the support of viewers such as you. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to get all of the latest information and episodes. Thank you.